dark at the bottom of the canyon develops an astonishing amount
Deeper
of action.
chasms and towering peaks.
And other features of this great national park.
The Grand Canyon's breathtaking beauty and magnetic allure have captivated visitors for ages. Yet beneath its stunning exterior lies an air of intriguing mystery, leaving us wondering what secrets are concealed within its ancient rocks. Long-protected secrets are now rapidly coming to light, faster than the government can obscure them despite their best efforts. What mysteries might still lie hidden in the canyon's depths, waiting to be unveiled? Join us as we explore the history, recent discoveries, and long-guarded secrets of this iconic natural wonder, the Grand Canyon. Spanning 445 kilometers long and averaging 16 kilometers wide, the Grand Canyon sits carved by the Colorado River in the U.S. state of Arizona. This colossal natural wonder was among the earliest discoveries by Europeans in 1541, when Spanish explorers led by Captain Garcia Lopez de Cardenas ventured to the southern rim, predating Niagara Falls' discovery by 138 years and Yellowstone by 167 years. During their expedition, some members descended partially toward the river, but failed to reach it. Interestingly, some records of the Coronado expedition made no mention of this side journey. Over 2 centuries later, in 1776, Spanish Franciscan monk Francisco Garces reached the rim while tracing Native American tribes along Colorado, encountering the Supai people. Around this time, fur trappers from Taos Pueblo knew of the vast abyss called the Big Canyon, but avoided it, deeming it impassable. They later guided U.S. Army surveyors seeking alternate routes around the canyon. In 1857, Lieutenant Joseph C. Ives led an expedition up the Colorado River in search of the Big Canyon after their steamboat sank in Black Canyon farther upstream. His group wandered partially down Diamond Creek, reaching the inner gorge for a short time, and stopping briefly at the southern rim. In his report, Ives dismissed the landscape as worthless and infamously proclaimed the worthless territory should be fled once entered. In stark contrast, Major John Wesley Powell's acclaimed 1869 expeditions revealed the canyon's true splendor by successfully navigating the Colorado River's raging rapids through the entire 445-kilometer length. Powell's classic account renamed it Grand Canyon and described overwhelming cliffs, plunging waterfalls, and stone temples towering above the river. His journey of discovery finally opened the public's eyes to the canyon's grandeur and beauty. Artists like Thomas Moran soon arrived, inspired by Powell's account to capture the canyon's sweeping vistas in paintings. Their works conveyed the emotional impact of the panoramic views. Geologists also began studying the canyon's layered rocks, unveiling the story of its creation. Their insights enabled people to interpret the canyon walls as pages in a geological history book. The tribes of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon held sacred significance for Native American tribes for countless generations. 11 distinct indigenous peoples, including the Hopi, Havasupai, Zuni, Navajo, and Paiute, have inhabited or visited the Grand Canyon region for centuries. To these tribes, the Grand Canyon is not merely a scenic national park. It is deeply intertwined with their creation narratives and religious convictions. Speaking of the Havasupai tribe and their deep connection to the Grand Canyon, this natural wonder is truly sacred ground to them. The Havasupai have inhabited the Grand Canyon region for over 800 years, making it central to their culture, spirituality, and way of life. For centuries, the tribe has relied on the canyon for sustenance, growing crops along the river and hunting animals. The Havasupai view the Grand Canyon as the birthplace of humanity and a crossing point between our physical world and the spirit realm. One of the main reasons the canyon holds such profound meaning is the presence of waterfalls, springs, and streams. The Havasupai regard water as the essential element for life and consider these water sources to have purifying and healing powers. In particular, Havasu Falls and Mooney Falls are seen as sacred and used for rituals and baptisms. The turquoise blue waters are thought to cleanse not just the body, but also the mind and soul. The tribe's creation story tells how they emerged from the Grand Canyon at the beginning of time. Their mythology says the canyons, caves, and rivers were paths traveled by their ancestors and continue to connect the living with ancestral spirits. The canyon is seen as both a homeland and a holy land. Certain formations and sites mark locations for vision quests, coming-of-age ceremonies, and direct communication with the Creator. For the Supai, who have resided in and around the canyon for centuries, it is regarded as a gateway to heaven and hell. Their interpretation of heaven and hell diverges from the conventional Judeo-Christian concept. They believe heaven is a realm of eternal happiness and harmony with nature and one another. Conversely, their concept of hell is a place of intense suffering and retribution where wrongdoers atone for their transgressions. According to Supai beliefs, the souls of the departed must traverse the canyon to reach their ultimate destination. The Grand Canyon is more than a mere geographical location to the Supai. It is a spiritual site where the past and present intersect. The canyon's geological formations and breathtaking vistas are integral to their beliefs and traditions, playing a vital role in their cultural identity. The geological origins. To truly understand the canyon, we should look at its geological formation. The magnificent Grand Canyon that we know today started forming around 17 million years ago, during the Miocene epoch. However, the geological history of the rocks that make up the canyon walls stretches back a staggering 1.8 billion years. The oldest rocks at the bottom of the canyon are part of the Vishnu schist, formed 1.7 to 1.8 billion years ago during the Proterozoic eon. This ancient metamorphic rock originated as mud and volcanic ash that accumulated in an ancient ocean basin near the equator. Intense heat and pressure from tectonic plate collisions metamorphosed these sediments into the banded gneiss and schist that we see today. Above the Vishnu schist lies the Granite Gorge Metamorphic Suite, formed 1.4 billion years ago when magma intruded into the older schist. This igneous intrusion cooled and crystallized into granite and pegmatite dikes that cut through the layered metamorphic rocks below. These granite rocks make up much of the inner gorge that the Colorado River flows through today. Resting above these ancient basement rocks is the Great Unconformity, a huge gap in the geologic record spanning over 1 billion years. This represents an incredible amount of lost time, where either no sediments were deposited or any that were laid down were completely eroded away. The origins of this profound unconformity have been debated for over a century. 18.5 million years ago, a large mountain range rose where the plateau country is today. As the range uplifted, the ancestral Colorado River increased its downward cutting through the many elevated rock layers. Around 6 million years ago, the central Colorado Plateau started doming, further rejuvenating the river's erosive power. More regional uplift and faulting steepened the river's gradient, enabling it to carve ever deeper. The role of natural forces. Erosion by water is the main natural force that has carved out the Grand Canyon over millions of years. The cutting power of the Colorado River and its tributaries produced this monumental work of art in stone. The river system carries large volumes of water and sediment from elevations of over 4,000 meters on the Colorado Rockies down to sea level. This great elevation drop allows the river to erode downward rapidly. The erosive process works via hydraulic action, where swiftly moving water scours away at the rock. The river also exploits cracks and fissures, widening them into dramatic canyons. Another mechanism is abrasion, where sediment carried in the water wears down rock surfaces over time. The canyon walls are subject to weathering from freeze-thaw cycles that break apart rock. Occasionally, the river's downcutting would expose harder metamorphic and igneous basement rocks. This would temporarily slow erosion, causing the river to cut laterally and widen its course instead. Periods of slower erosion allowed side canyons to develop carved out by smaller tributary streams. Each tributary adds its own erosive force, removing material from slopes via mass wasting. In some layers, water percolates utilizing soluble rock material. Groundwater alternately cements and dissolves calcite, widening cracks in a process called karst topography. This forms cavernous networks and passageways internally that weaken rock layers. Features like springs and seeps arise where groundwater emerges. The dynamic hydraulic system keeps erosion active both at the surface and beneath it. The powerful Colorado River does the most substantial work, but other natural forces have also been sculpting the Grand Canyon for eons. Earlier in its history, glaciers that originated on nearby plateaus gouged and scoured the landscape. Remnants of their pathways remain as abandoned canyons and truncated drainage systems. Recent discoveries challenge our knowledge of human history. Conventional archaeology has long maintained that humans first populated the Americas around 13,000 years ago during the Ice Age, crossing a land bridge from Siberia into modern-day Alaska. This timeline is supported by sites such as Monte Verde in Chile and Meadowcroft Rock Shelter in Pennsylvania, which indicate human presence dating back to approximately 14,000 to 16,000 years before the present. However, several recent discoveries have challenged this narrative by providing potential evidence of human occupation in the Americas tens of thousands of years earlier. Closer to the Grand Canyon, recent excavations have unearthed artifacts with links to the ancient Folsom culture dating back 12,000 years. These include exquisitely crafted Folsom spear points found at sites near the confluence of the Colorado and Little Colorado rivers. These fossils shed light on the lifeways of Paleo-Indian peoples who hunted and camped along the canyons and rivers of the region during the late Ice Age. They lend credence to the idea that the Grand Canyon watershed has been inhabited for over 10,000 years. Several archaeologists theorize that the Colorado River itself served as a migration corridor, bringing the first peoples through the Grand Canyon area into the Americas. They postulate that some of the earliest explorers may have traveled along the river system by boat or raft around 16,000 years ago or earlier. Recent evidence of Paleo-Indian campsites and hunting lookouts along the Colorado River lend support to this hypothesis. Although rising lake waters submerged any riverbank sites over 10,000 years old, the region clearly holds clues to ancient cultures. Another bombshell finding was made at White Sands National Park in New Mexico, where researchers unexpectedly unearthed human footprints dating back 23,000 years within the park's alkali flats. Numerous fossilized footprints were identified alongside tracks left by Ice Age animals, such as giant sloths and mammoths. The tracks were imprinted in soft sediments that later hardened into stone, enabling remarkable preservation. Radiocarbon dating of seeds and other organic matter recovered from the footprints confirms they were left 20,800 years ago. This astounding discovery implies that humans were living in North America over 10,000 years earlier than archaeologists previously believed. The White Sands tracks offer some of the strongest direct physical evidence to date that people inhabited this continent during the last Ice Age, interacting with long-extinct megafauna. If confirmed, these rare fossilized footprints could revolutionize our understanding of when humans first arrived in the Americas, much like how one amateur explorer transformed our perspective on the Grand Canyon. Explorer G.E. Kincade. G.G.E. Kincade was a little-known figure who made a groundbreaking discovery in the Grand Canyon in 1909. Not much is conclusively known about Kincade's background and life prior to his Grand Canyon venture. Based on scattered reports, he appears to have been a minor and amateur archaeologist who pursued adventures and explorations throughout the Wild West. It was Kincade's fascination with legends and mysteries that reportedly drew him to explore the Grand Canyon when he learned it would soon be closed off to visitors. As an opportunistic prospector, he embarked on an expedition down the Colorado River in hopes of discovering valuable minerals like gold, silver, or gemstones before access was restricted. Some conjectured he embarked on his quest in part due to a map obtained from the Hopi depicting fascinating archaeological wonders. Whatever his reasons, Kincade's trip down the Colorado led him to an accidental discovery that would live on in legend: hidden underground city in the canyon. As the story goes, G.E. Kincade made an extraordinary discovery about 60 kilometers upriver into the Grand Canyon from its southern edge. According to an article Kincade wrote that was published in the Arizona Gazette on April 1909, he came across some unusual formations in the limestone walls towering above the river. Intrigued, he stopped his makeshift raft to take a closer look. Upon exploring the area on foot, Kincade reported finding hundreds of meticulously carved steps leading up to a ledge and cave opening high on the steep canyon wall. The opening appeared to lead inside a cavern or tunnel, but even more amazing was that the entrance was marked by strange hieroglyphics and symbols that resembled writing from ancient Egypt. Venturing into the passage, Kincade was astonished to find that it opened into an expansive network of chambers and tunnels. The magazine article included Kincade's claim that he had stumbled upon the ruins of an ancient underground city buried within the Grand Canyon. His descriptions evoked a breathtaking subterranean world. The passages were reportedly very extensive, totaling several kilometers in length. The rooms were massive in scale, some the size of 50 square meters and larger. Kincade marveled at the sophisticated architecture and engineering required to construct such a complex. The walls were reputedly over 1 meter thick, and the ceilings arched to a central dome. As Kincade explored the underground city, he was said to have found crypts containing mummies, ancient artifacts, copper weapons, religious icons, and a variety of treasures. He reported the site's potential archaeological importance to be immense. If true, it would require rewriting history to account for an unknown ancient civilization living in the Grand Canyon. Collaboration with the Smithsonian. According to Kincade's account, he immediately contacted the Smithsonian Institution after his discovery to report the underground city and request their assistance with excavation. Some conspiracy theorists allege that the Smithsonian suppressed archaeological evidence contradicting conventional historical narratives. But records indicate their team did embark on a Grand Canyon expedition following Kincade's contact. Professor S.A. Jordan was reportedly sent by the Smithsonian along with a research team and equipment to investigate Kincade's claims. Work commenced in mid-1909 on excavating and documenting what Kincade had identified as a potential major archaeological find. By this time, Kincade had named it the Citadel based on its fortress-like structure. The Smithsonian team's findings and correspondence initially seemed to support the authenticity of the underground city. Reports described a complex tunnel system with rooms, cross hallways, and advanced engineering. There was ample evidence of prior habitation by a sizable population. Smithsonian inquiries requested more resources to proceed with the dig. But then, something changed. After several months, fewer updates came from the researchers in Arizona. They began denying the existence of an underground city, despite previous endorsements. By 1910, the Smithsonian stated the entire story was a fable, and its team found only basic tribal artifacts. They concluded that no advanced civilization existed in the area. At around the same time, the Arizona Gazette article allegedly describing Kincade's discovery vanished from circulation. The Smithsonian dismissed Kincade's claims and barred further investigation of the site. The institution maintained that tales of the Citadel were a myth. This sudden change of stance fueled speculation of a cover-up to hide paradigm-shifting revelations. Legends of advanced ancient civilizations. The mysteries surrounding the Grand Canyon extend beyond Kincade's 1909 expeditions. According to some of the earliest recorded hypotheses about ancient civilizations, it was theorized that Mongols or Egyptians settled the Grand Canyon based on artifacts unearthed in the region. What's particularly intriguing is that Egyptian glyphs or hieroglyphs had also been discovered in Australia, thousands of kilometers away from Egypt itself. These findings raise the possibility of Egyptians having the capability to reach and influence regions as far as America, making the idea of ancient Egyptian presence in the Grand Canyon seem plausible. Moreover, some contemporary theorists even speculate that the caves within the Grand Canyon might have served as dwellings for an undiscovered intelligent civilization, adding to the intrigue and debate surrounding this majestic natural wonder. The speculations about ancient civilizations inhabiting the Grand Canyon speak to the air of mystery enveloping this natural landmark, with its intricate cave systems, challenging terrain, and isolated location. Even native tribes such as the Supai make references in their folklore to little people or supernatural beings dwelling in the depths of the canyon. Whether based on fact or fiction, these stories contribute to the enigmatic lore of the Grand Canyon that captures public fascination. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. What just emerged at the Grand Canyon shocks the whole world. Two amateur explorers exploring the Grand Canyon came across this alleged discovery. According to their accounts, after long exploring, they found the mummified remains in one cave. The mummy actually looked quite well preserved. Given the mysterious nature of the Grand Canyon and its mysterious history and strict government monitoring, the finding of a mummy inside a cave sounds plausible. Obviously, to hide something, there should be something there. What do you think of it? We can't decide for sure if it's actually true. It's time for you to turn on your detective mode and let us know your theories in the comments. The artifacts and unexplained vanishings. Kincade's discoveries hinted at the citadel being military or warrior lodgings based on the reported artifacts. Copper weapons, shields, armor, and combat items found throughout the underground city suggested its inhabitants had an advanced military culture. Kincade's description of the site as having the appearance of being a fortress bolstered the idea of it serving as some kind of martial barracks or stronghold. But this interpretation was speculative. Other relics like religious icons, household goods, and culinary items indicated a well-established residential community. The citadel may have been inhabited by an entire civilization, including families and children rather than just housing soldiers. Yet the scale of the complex and wealth of weapons still imply a formidable military power was based there. Adding to the intrigue surrounding the Grand Canyon Citadel, both Kincade and Jordan disappeared under mysterious circumstances shortly after exploring the underground city. According to some accounts, the two men simply vanished without a trace in late 1910 as work proceeded. Conspiracy theories suppose they were either silenced or forcibly removed to conceal their discoveries. But there are limited facts to explain their unclear fates. Some posit that Kincade fled the region fearing government suppression of his findings. Others speculate Jordan and his team were threatened or even killed by unnamed nefarious forces. The dearth of records makes it impossible to determine what truly happened after their work ceased. Kincade and Jordan's disappearances remain cryptic historical footnotes, their ultimate fates unknown. But their mysterious endings helped cement the legendary allure of the Grand Canyon Citadel. Tantalizing clues hint at advanced cultures inhabiting the Grand Canyon long before modern society's recorded history. While these accounts blur fact and fiction, they share compelling parallels that can't be wholly dismissed. Striking artifacts matching older civilizations remains elusive, but dreams of buried secrets and vanished cultures persist, embodied in the lore of Kincade's underground fortress. Its legend endures as one of history's most evocative mysteries. Patterns of apparent cover-ups by authorities. Over the past century, allegations have mounted of authorities suppressing archaeological evidence that challenges the accepted narrative of North American prehistory. Some of the most controversial claims involve the discovery of giant skeletons in the Grand Canyon area and other parts of the western United States. According to certain accounts in the early 20th century, extremely large humanoid skeletons reaching heights of 2.5 to 3.5 meters were unearthed by excavations sponsored by the Smithsonian. The reported finds included giants buried amidst the Pueblo cultures of Southwest America. However, the institution denies such skeletons were ever found or sent to the Smithsonian for study. There are also local legends such as the giant of Miamisburg Mound in Ohio, where some claim the skeleton of an over 2.5-meter-tall human was uncovered in 1869. The skeleton was reportedly surrounded by carved shells and stone axes, leading to speculation that it belonged to an important figure. After being displayed locally, the bones mysteriously went missing and cannot be accounted for today. And it's not just the case in Ohio. There are rumors about similar instances in Oklahoma, and the Midwest conspiracy theories allege that not only did the Smithsonian Institute cover up evidence of giants, but deliberately destroyed records and bones. No documented acknowledgement of receiving giant skeletons for research exists in the Smithsonian's proceedings or annual reports. Without hard evidence, some declare the entire narrative of giant skeletons to be fraudulent. Those advocating the legitimacy of the missing giant bones contend that the 1930s represented the peak period when skeletons were discovered, after which evidence was systematically erased from the historical record. They argue that authoritative institutions concealed facts contradicting mainstream history. Absent definitive proof, either way, the controversy surrounding the giant skeletons persists. Suppression of the Arizona Gazette article. Similar allegations of suppression revolve around an apocryphal article allegedly published in the Arizona Gazette newspaper in 1909. The story described the purported discovery of an intricate underground Egyptian or Asian temple in the Grand Canyon. It detailed a cave system with numerous tunnels, crypts, and artifacts evoking an advanced lost civilization. According to accounts, this highly controversial article appeared in the Gazette on April 5, 1909, but was soon stricken from the public record. After generating much interest and debate, the story allegedly vanished, with no Arizona Gazette article found in archived editions. The Smithsonian denied any knowledge of the underground citadel described in the article. Those who believe the article was covered up maintain that its disappearance fits a larger pattern of censoring archaeological discoveries, contradicting accepted history. They argue the Smithsonian and government suppress evidence undermining traditional timelines of human civilization in America. Others counter that the absence of any supporting documentation means the Gazette article likely never existed. The truth remains elusive. Critics also cite the imposition of martial law-type restrictions on the Grand Canyon as an attempt to conceal archaeological mysteries. In the early 20th century, limitations were enacted barring public entry into certain remote parts of the canyon. It is estimated that there are approximately 1,000 hidden caves within the canyon. However, till now, only 335 caves have been discovered. Among those 335 caves, tourists are only allowed to visit specific caves. Authorities prohibited exploring caves in these off-limit areas, and violators faced prosecution and fines. Some view these regulations as designed to prevent outsiders from accessing sites like Kincade's underground city. The policies barred mapping or photographing protected areas and stipulated that all travel required government approval. As recently as 2016, German researchers were banned from the Supai reservation portion of the canyon. However, federal authorities contend the measures protect sensitive natural habitats and guard the territory of indigenous tribes. The National Park Service states no cultural artifacts or anomalies are known in prohibited regions, which comprise only 3% of the park. But suspicions of concealment remain, fueled by authorities' opacity regarding some canyon areas. Until access is granted, speculation will likely persist about what really lies hidden in the Grand Canyon's depths. Individual explorers pursue the mysteries independently. Independent researchers like Jerry and Kathy Wills have taken up the mantle of unraveling the canyon's mysteries for themselves by searching for entrances to the legendary underground city. In the 1990s, the Wills dedicated themselves to accessing Kincade's underground fortress, which was dismissed as a myth by the Smithsonian. The couple spent 3 years exploring the canyon for the elusive cave opening described by Kincade. Hiking along the limestone walls from the Colorado River, they reported discovering clefts matching the Kincade account. Using technical climbing gear, they ascended approximately 500 meters up a cliff face, but could not reach the opening alleged to lead into the citadel. The Wills also spotted cave entrances at lower elevations blocked by cement construction. They proposed blasting operations in the 1920s, concealed passages to underground sites. Although unable to enter the caves themselves, the Wills assert evidence indicates ancient human occupation connected to the tunnels. They believe government restrictions serve to prohibit access to these sites. In their quest to directly observe the underground city, the Wills faced not only challenging terrain, but alleged obstruction by authorities. Park officials prohibited them from removing artifacts or deploying technical gear in cave exploration. Helicopters closely monitored their activities. The Wills interpreted this as systemic monitoring to prevent them from accessing restricted subterranean areas. Conspiracy theorists back these assertions, contending the National Park Service actively conceals archaeological sites within the Grand Canyon that threaten mainstream history. They argue restrictions on off-trail hiking and caving were instituted to hide entry points to tunnel complexes inhabited by advanced ancient civilizations. Skeptics counter that the government seeks to preserve fragile ecosystems and tribal areas, not suppress hidden history. They contend no credible evidence supports the existence of secret caves, let alone an underground city housing ancient cultures predating native peoples. With limited public access, the The debate fuels ongoing mysteries surrounding the Grand Canyon's hidden depths. The village of Supai. Nestled at the bottom of the Grand Canyon lies the village of Supai, home of the Havasupai tribe. It holds the distinction of being one of the most isolated, continuously inhabited settlements in the contiguous United States. Located approximately 11 kilometers down from the South Rim, Supai is reachable only by helicopter, mule, or by a challenging 21-kilometer hike. This secluded village sits on the floor of the western Grand Canyon, in an oasis surrounded by towering red rock cliffs. The Havasupai have called this area home for over 800 years, with many families living year-round in Supai. The village currently has a population of around 200 residents, making it one of the smallest settlements in America. Supai's extreme isolation has helped preserve the ancient way of life of the Havasupai tribe. The people reside deep within the Grand Canyon, buffered and hidden from the outside world. This has allowed them to maintain their traditions and heritage despite encroaching on modern society. The Havasupai have vigorously protected their ancestral lands and age-old culture. The village's inaccessibility has compelled it to rely on helicopter deliveries for food, mail, and supplies. There are no roads leading to Supai. The sole options are helicopter airlift or hiking approximately 21 kilometers up or down steep rocky trails. Horses and mules can also be rented to assist with the challenging trek. These obstacles mean Supai retains the essence of a traditional Native American village, seamlessly nested into the natural canyon landscape. Simple wood and stone homes blend into the surroundings, marked by towering cottonwoods and surrounding cornfields. The village emanates a sense of stepping back in time, isolated from modernity. The Havasupai have staunchly protected Supai's traditional character, managing to keep out automobiles and most aspects of contemporary life from this spiritual refuge. Strict limits are placed on visitor numbers. The result is a living community that provides rare glimpses into the heritage of North America's original peoples through unchanged lifeways, customs, and structures. Supai remains a testament to the power of isolation and cultural strength. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.